Hello and welcome to Dani Golden's podcast. This is season 2, episode 4. If you have not checked out my podcast interview with Justin Farrell, creating a personalized healing journey, please do. It's on DaniGolden.com or my YouTube channel. When it comes to your skin, your body, and your health, how do you know what is right for you? Today, I'm very excited because we have the fabulous Dr. Joy Wisniewski, and she goes by Dr. Joy. She's a double board certified dermatologist with expertise in medical, surgical, and cosmetic dermatology. And I'm very excited to have her on today.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here.
Thank you. So we have all these wonderful questions for her, and we're really going to pick her brain about skincare and how to look our fabulous selves and take care of ourselves because it's a twofold process.
Yeah.
So let's talk about dermatology and the importance of seeing a dermatologist. What is the importance of seeing a dermatologist? Why should my viewers and listeners see a dermatologist?
So dermatology is super important because we catch a lot of skin cancer. So that's like first and foremost the most important thing. And of course, it's about catching skin cancer, catching it early. I always tell people, I mean, for example, this week I had a patient with melanoma that I was doing a surgery, and he has early stage, so stage 0 melanoma, which is melanoma in situ. And this is his second one, and he's young. And he's like, is this just going to keep happening to me? And it's like, likely, yeah, there's a genetic component to this. There is, sun exposure. We live in San Diego, so a lot of sun exposure where we live. But yeah, catching things early is important because the reason I was cutting it out and he was in the OR getting lymph node biopsies and having to go on chemo is because we're catching it early. So he's not having to go to the oncologist. I actually was also at a melanoma walk last weekend where we were volunteering to do skin checks. And I was listening to all these melanoma survivor stories and what they've been through. And again, also young, old, all different age groups. And the risk of melanoma is rising. However, they're being caught earlier more frequently, which sometimes makes people think, oh, if it's being caught early all the time, maybe they're just like catching all these early skin cancers. It's not a big deal. No,
Right.
it is a big deal because when you catch these things late, not only is it much more likely to kill you, which is a huge deal, and more painful. You have to go through tons of scans and biopsies, not just skin biopsies, lymph node biopsies, which are much, much more invasive, and immunotherapy, which really it can be really tolerable, or for some people, it takes a huge toll on the immune system because it's truly like very stimulatory to the immune system, which some people don't tolerate well. It's a huge deal once these things spread into the body. So, yeah, we're doing a lot of skin biopsies, which are not as invasive because the good news about the skin, it's at the surface.
Right.
So, even though it's a biopsy still, it's not like having to do liver biopsies, lymph node biopsies, where you really have to often go under anesthesia and get things cut out in a deeper way. So, the importance is, as a board certified dermatologist, there are studies that show we are the best at finding skin cancers early. While there are great primary care doctors that can look for skin cancer, and they should, because of course I always say more eyes are better. And there are people in other fields that may be looking at skin, or non MDs that are looking at skin, or non DOs that are looking at skin that's in like the PA fields or the nurse practitioners fields. They have shown, there's studies that show that we actually can find more skin cancers with less biopsies. And so that is the importance of seeing a board certified dermatologist. Now, some people either don't have a lot of spots on their skin or don't have like a strong family history of skin cancer, or they live in a place where maybe their skin doesn't get a lot of sun, even though there
Mhm.
are some studies that also show that places where you live where you get not a lot of sun in the winter and then a bunch of sun in the summer, sometimes that can actually be a stronger risk factor for some people, that on and off sun.
That's
Although here
interesting. I was thinking about that. Yeah.
Although here we have so much chronic sun, we see so much skin cancer, so that's also
Right.
a big risk factor. Um, but it's so important because I always tell people, every patient, I've been practicing for you all day, all year. This is all I do.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't have to, I mean, yeah, we treat psoriasis and we treat eczema. We do a lot of other things too, but all I do is focus on skin. all I do is pattern recognition every day. This one doesn't fit your pattern. Every patient, it's like fingerprints. You have your own pattern. So that's what we're doing all day long. We spend 8 years training for this. I mean, 4 years medical school, we're doing everything, and then a year of intern year, and then 3 years of residency. So 3 years where we're just focused on dermatology outside of doing our medical training. When you look at other, like, again, not, there are great PAs, there are great nurse practitioners, but the training time is way less. Some people say, oh, they're just getting it done faster. Doesn't work that way.
Right.
And so, again, some people live in places where they don't have a lot of board certified dermatologists. So we hope they're getting their skin checked. But as board certified dermatologists, whether it's MD or DO, because we go through very similar training, MDs and DOs, that we are the people that we are the most highly trained to do this. And it is really specialized. And I really feel fortunate to do what I do and to take care of people the way I get to take care of them. And really, like, I always joke, you have to see the invisible as a dermatologist. You have to see the unseen.
You really do.
Yeah. So anyway, that was a very long
No, that was
explanation, but I
very
hope it was
interesting.
helpful.
That was very helpful. Thank you. No, I think that's really helpful for our listeners and viewers because we're not as privy to the field. So we're just I mean, at least I can speak for myself operating from layman's terms. I'm
Yeah.
in the sun. I grew up as a competitive swimmer.
Yeah.
I love the beach. So
Yeah.
as you know, I'm always in the sun, even if I'm training early in the morning. And I just think, it's not about it's not always people think about dermatology. I think they think, oh, well, you're trying to look your best. Well, it's not, it's beyond that.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing. I
It's the
mean, some people,
whole
yes.
thing.
Me specifically, yes, I want to look as good as I can for as
Of
long as I
course.
can, but I also want to be healthy because
Yes.
without my health, there's nothing.
But they go hand in hand.
Right.
So looking good is about maintaining the skin's collagen. It's protecting your skin from the sun. And we look better long term the more we do protect. Now there are arguments for, you need to get vitamin D, and sun vitamin D is going to be more beneficial than oral vitamin D. So there's arguments on all different sides, but you could do no Botox, no fillers, no lasers, and just crazily protect your skin from the sun, and you'll look amazing.
Right.
And so, but then again, like, people like, you love to swim, you want to be outside. You should do all the
I know.
activities that make you happy. Like, it's important to live the life that you want to live, right? Like, you should live and enjoy your life.
Right.
But I also love the beach, and I was not as good of a swimmer as you, and I still love to go in the ocean, and I'm trying to learn very slowly how to surf.
Oh, that's
And
great.
I'm at the beach with long sleeves, and I do sometimes wear swim pants. I always tell people I don't get a lot of looks with my long sleeve bathing suits, but once I add the swim pants, I get a lot of interesting looks. I've had some commentary when I vacationed to Hawaii with my family, like, oh, you have a lot of these outfits, not bathing suits, but outfits. Yeah,
Right.
I do, because I always say clothing is always going to work better than sunscreen. Sunscreen, we sweat, we touch our skin, it wipes away, it wears off. Clothing does not wear off. But
Right.
that's individual. Not some people are like, no, that's not going to work for me. And so you're always going to get some level of sun exposure through sunscreen, whether it's mineral or chemical. There are more and more. I'm not on TikTok, but like TikTok things, I think, just from what I see, they say, the old people watch, TikTok reposts on Instagram. I think I'm one of those people. And like that, sunscreen's dangerous or bad for you. And I don't think that's
Oh,
true.
right.
Chemical ingredients, really, they've done studies, are not penetrating through the skin. They are more irritating, though. Like, they're more likely to cause rashes, cause eczema, like, be just irritating overall, have contact allergies that we treat in dermatology. And so I like mineral sunscreen. So zinc oxide covers more, like, of
Right.
all the sun's rays. We think of it as like the umbrella. And so zinc oxide's found in anything mineral, or things that say made for babies, sensitive skin. Also, baby sunscreens and sensitive skin sunscreens are the same thing, usually just repackaged.
Hmm.
Um, you have to understand the skincare industry is $1 billion industry. They're
Yeah.
just trying to sell you all kinds of stuff.
Well, I do love me a baby sunscreen.
Yeah, I mean, me too. They're a little more drying because they have a higher percentage of zinc.
Hmm.
But I love sun protection. I love hats. I love sunscreen. I love the clothing. You should do all the things if you want your skin to look younger. But then some people go, but it feels so good on my skin. So get a little bit. I mean, 10
Right.
minutes a day with your sun unprotected and then try to protect it. But these are lifestyle changes, the same way exercise and diet and everything else are lifestyle changes. You have to figure out what works for you between the mental and the physical and what you want to do and go from there. And then if you're like, no, I want to worship the sun and I'll just come in every year and get my face lasered off, then you're like, great. I was actually just listening to this Amy Poehler's new podcast with Tina Fey, and Tina Fey was saying that she's like, I don't use skincare products. Like, I'm just not someone who
Oh,
does that. I just love expensive lasers, basically. Like, that's what I do.
yeah.
So, to each their own.
Exactly. Well, I love that. And I think that's a great analogy because it really is a lifestyle thing.
Yes, very much.
You have to think about it before I am in the sun. I have to think about what I'm putting on my body, and
Yes.
I'm a zinc girl. So I have to think about, then how that lotion affects the clothes I'm wearing or the seats I sit on,
Oh, yes.
or, because everything leaves a white mark
Yep.
the
Or
thicker you
tinted,
go.
depending on what you use. I know my son was putting on tinted sunscreen this morning and I let him do it himself. He's 8.5. He should do it himself. But then I'm like watching him get it all over everything. And you're right, it does not wash out easily.
Right. Yeah. No, this is great. Okay. What interested you in dermatology and made you want to be a dermatologist?
So I always tell people I love details. I'm not like the best big picture person. I'm like a very detail oriented person. I'm like someone who just, I'm a noticer. I've always loved like memory games when I was a kid. I like to like see patterns. Like that's always just
Oh.
been how my brain works. And that's a lot of dermatology. It's a lot of pattern recognition. I always say again, it's like seeing the unseen, like what the invisible. You're looking for things that are there that are missing, and it's so detail oriented. I was telling a med student who had or actually he was a college student who was thinking about going to med school, who was shadowing me. Um, like a lot of people find dermatology boring that are in the medical field when they're trying to figure out what field to go into.
Hmm.
Like my husband, who's a surgeon, yeah, like it's a lot of minutia in dermatology, which I love. Like my brain just like soaks that in, and you just have to love studying all the like these like tiny little details. I would
Hmm.
like we joke when we're taking boards for dermatology, like every disease we study has like three different names, and you need to know all the names. And this is just minutia,
Right.
but that is what we do.
Well, I can tell that you love it. So that's always,
I
yeah,
do.
that's what makes you really good at it. I think
Thank
there's definitely
you.
a correlation between the two.
I think I like taking care of people, which
Hmm.
is helpful because the nice thing with dermatology, we take care of like whole families. We take care of people for years and years and years, and we see all the different things that happen to them in their lives. Um, but yeah, it's also a lot of like, how do you live your life? How do you shower? When do you put yourself like it's like kind of like you have to think about how people like function day to day, which is a lot of fields, I mean, that are like that. But just like and also looking at like these tiny details. Like when I'm looking at people, I'm like, okay, I can tell you're getting sunscreen on your face, but you don't touch your neck and you probably wear your hair in a ponytail. And that's why your neck is starting to look a certain way. And it's funny because people like they're like, this just happened. This is like the kind of the joke in dermatology. People go, I just woke up one day. Let's say they're 40 or 50 years old, and I never had this before. We know you've had that sun damage for years. It just took a certain threshold amount of it to start to notice and pay attention to it because our chin blocks our neck right here. So
Hmm.
people get this like sparing of the neck until like about back here. And then we see all this sun damage on the sides that people don't really notice until one day there's enough sun damage. They look in the mirror and they're, oh my God, this rash just appeared. You're like, that's not a rash, that's sun damage that you've been building for
Right.
at least a decade. I mean, you can even see in like kids and they're even before teens, people starting to freckle and things like that. That is starting the beginning of a little bit of sun damage.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm like thinking about my routines and everything. I'm starting to like get a little, what do I need to do more?
No.
Um,
And that's the thing. I think people do get like that. And then they buy 8 million. Like, this is what, sorry, if you have another question,
no,
I don't want to,
please.
but like, this is what happens is people get like overwhelmed. They're like, oh my God, I've done all this damage and there's no coming back. Right. Like, and it's like, first of all, there are things we can do to reverse. Again,
Right.
there are really great lasers, there are good topicals, things like that. But they go to the store and they go buy a bunch of stuff. They go spend all this money. I'm like, but I bought all these products. And I'm like, well, some of those might do something and some of those are going to do nothing. Like, but I spent all this money. Go see your dermatologist,
Right.
talk to somebody that knows their skincare stuff before you go spending all this money. Because again, it's $1 billion industry.
Right.
Everybody is trying to get a piece of the pie and sell you something. And most of the things are very similar to each other. And every company is trying to tell you why they're different. Most of the time, there's not much different from one to the next. Sometimes there is, but most of the time, it's like you need your mineral sunscreen, you find what you like,
Hmm.
and then you need a retinoid, which is the like tretinoin, which is the brand name, or you can buy retinol over the counter, although usually that's much weaker and kind of diluted with a lot of other ingredients. But that also helps with like decreasing collagen breakdown. We're all going to break down our collagen. Lighter
Right.
skin breaks it down faster, darker skin breaks it down slower. And as we age, it breaks down, and the more sun also breaks down faster. So you could simplify it. You could literally have like one great mineral sunscreen, one great retinoid, retinol, whichever one you choose, and then having a moisturizer that you like, which you don't have to break the bank with moisturizer. There's some really expensive that are nice. There's some really cheap that are nice. And then as you get older, you get drier. So then you just need to moisturize more.
Right.
And soap dries you out. So you need to soap less. And water dries you out. So you need to be careful with how often you shower as you get older. But like, you don't have to make it so complicated.
Well, this is a great segue because I'm actually
Yeah.
going, I want to break it down into brass tacks and for the
Okay.
audience. So, what do you think are the most important things people should be thinking of when it comes to their skin and body? And I want to go through like each decade because I
Okay.
remember when I used to read the magazines when I was younger and it would be like in your 20s, in your 30s. And I thought it would be fun to do this now because a lot has changed since
Yeah.
then. So, what preventative care should people in these demos be aware of and thinking about? So, let's start with a person in their 20s.
I mean, sunscreen is the most important. That's like the time everyone thinks, of course, you're invincible.
Right.
And you can just recover from everything all the time. And you kind of can. I mean, it's easier to recover from a lot of things in your 20s than as we get older.
Right.
But sun protection is by far the most important thing that you can do daily, especially to the face, the neck, any part of the chest, especially women. I always say our clothing tends to show more of the chest. So we tend to get a little more chest sun damage. We're guys because of like usually shorter haircuts. And if people, even if they wear baseball caps, like the sides of their neck get a lot of sun and the back of their neck. So
Right.
that's really the most important. When you're young, you don't necessarily need to moisturize a ton unless you're someone who has eczema or has naturally more dry skin.
Hmm.
Most younger people make a little bit more oil to their skin,
Okay.
just based on hormones and things like that. And so I've actually had some patients that, like, again, because of the way our society currently is telling us to buy all this stuff and use all this stuff, they're over moisturizing and they're breaking out from it. So
Yeah.
don't go crazy on the moisturizer in your 20s unless you need it. Again, if you have eczema, you have super dry skin, and make sure you're doing like a good mineral sunscreen. I hate sprays.
Okay.
However, caveat to that, I'm okay with any sunscreen you're willing to do. But
Okay.
every time anyone does a spray, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm inhaling all of it, even though it's
Yes.
water soluble. Usually, you actually don't want mineral spray. If you're going to use a spray, you want chemical. And
Okay.
minerals are not water soluble. So if you inhale mineral, we worry, could it stick into the lungs and be problematic? You're better
Oh,
off buying a chemical spray, even though I don't love, sorry, my nose, you don't love, I don't
that's
love chemical sunscreens. Um, However, they're water soluble, so we don't worry so much about you inhaling them. But I just hate inhaling that stuff. It's like so smelly and it literally
yeah.
blows off into the wind, and everyone thinks they don't need to rub it in. No, you're literally just like spraying like spray dots on yourself or like a
Right.
line. Rub it in.
I know. There'll be people that'll do that at the pool, and I'm like, why do I feel like I just ate sunscreen? And then
Yeah,
I'll turn and look, and
it
someone's
is.
spraying, and
It
it's like
is.
more went into the wind than on them.
I hate
I
it.
know. Okay, a person in their 30s, what should they be thinking about?
So that's when you're starting to experience more collagen breakdown, like the beginning of collagen breakdown. Some people say around 25, but 25 to
Oh,
30. And so you want to now add in your retinoid for sure at nighttime. So you want to maintain the mineral sunscreen. So it's like you're just adding on, and that's where you're going to add on the retinoid at night. Retinoids are drying, so you may want to add in a little moisturizer if you're more dry. But again, you don't really get super dry in your 30s, again,
okay.
unless you're caveat again, the eczema patient, the patient who just naturally has like very dry skin, or you live in a super dry climate.
Mm-hmm. Okay. 40s.
This is where the fun begins.
Oh, good Lord.
So perimenopause for women changes
Hmm.
things a lot. We start getting usually more dry. And some women get a new recurrence of cystic acne. Sometimes that even happens in 30s. It can happen like childbearing ages. So again, sometimes it happens before 40, but some women start to notice more cystic acne. So sometimes we'll add in things that help with hormonal acne in this age group, or the skin starts to get more sensitive. I find a lot of people, again, with the way people are with all the things you can buy, vitamin C's are so popular. This is where I'm treating a lot of perioral dermatitis, which is like basically a rash of the skin from putting too many products on, but especially vitamin C's are like a known irritant to the skin. And you have to be careful with your retinoids, but you should be using your retinoids. So it's this like delicate balance of things. So 40s, I think it starts to get a little trickier, but again, it's you want a really nice moisturizer and your retinoid at night, and then your good sunscreen during the day.
Okay. And then we get into the 50s.
So 50s are like, again, and I'm a woman, so I'm definitely thinking in a, more in the women side of things.
Right.
50s, it's kind of similar to the 40s, but people have usually hit more of like a full blown menopause or closer to the end of their perimenopause stage. And so thinking more about moisturizer. Usually people have had a somewhat of a decrease of their collagen at this point. So this is where people are doing either more IPL lasers for brown spots, more resurfacing lasers, although people do it earlier too for growing
Hmm.
collagen, but it becomes more popular starting in people's like late 40s, early 50s to do these things. People, again, this is there are some people that are paying attention to this, and I do think the generation that's younger than you and I is already paying attention at a much younger age than we were, just because it's more
Right.
popular. But in the current generation of people that I am treating, it's usually people in their 50s that are the people that are coming to me and they're like, I never had this before. And again, we're
Right.
delicate as dermatologists. We don't like, you weren't paying attention. We're just like, well, you're noticing what's been happening, but it's just like a building up over time of all these sun damage things. And this is also, we have people obviously in their 20s and 30s and 40s, obviously doing Botox and filler. But again, this is people that like, were like, I never was going to do that ever, that are starting to turn the page and go, you know what, this is really starting to bother me.
Right.
So again, you have this group of people that preemptively were doing this from a young age, like I want to prevent, which I love. I started doing Botox between my eyebrows for like lines there in my mid 20s with like
Hmm.
studying in med school. I got those like creases. And I always say I have everything in my own face. I have filler in my face to help with like lifting, especially I have 3 kids, losing weight, gaining weight, blah, 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 all the things. Um, but usually people in their 50s start to really notice the changes that are happening to their body and are starting to want to invest more, not just in topicals, but in like more cosmetic procedures.
Got it. Okay. And then you get into your 60s.
Everybody just gets real dry, men and women alike. Everyone just starts, they're like, oh, my skin's so dry. I have all these spots. And like, you're just like, oh my, this is when people really have to start like moisturizing after showering for both arms and legs, like thicker. I always say lotion, it's interesting. Like lotion is just naturally thinner and it actually can dry you out. It's more water based. So water leaves our skin drier. Like
Right.
after you shower, you're leaving your skin drier, especially depending on how much soap you use. The soap definitely takes the oils out of our skin. And so this is the time it's like, make sure you do like a thick, heavy cream after you get out of the shower, arms and legs. And
Hmm.
usually it's going to, I say, like, if it comes out of a pump, it's a lotion. You really need to switch to like a cream, something that's in a jar with a screw off lid that wouldn't be able to come out of a pump because that's going to coat your skin better.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm taking some notes.
Oh, good. Sorry, I'm shifting my life.
No, it's fine. Okay, now we're getting to the 70s.
70s, again, it's very like 60s kind of onward, it's very similar. It's just like more dryness, more having to pay attention to dry skin, more spots. So people are really like starting to be bothered by like all the spots on their arms and their legs and like people start getting what's called actinic purpura, which is basically bruising of the skin from so much thinning of the collagen that they like barely
Oh,
touch anything and they make these bruises. Some people are on blood thinning medications at that point in time, or daily aspirin, which thins their blood for protecting the heart. And so people are bothered more by like the look of their skin in terms of not just brown spots and texture, but also like just easy bruising. So
yeah,
that's again where people also are more willing to keep their skin covered because a lot of people aren't as happy with the way their skin looks on their arms and legs. So they're more willing to wear like long sleeves and long pants. Plus, they're starting to get more skin cancers too. And
right.
so that's where it's like, again, making sure you always have a hat with you. I always tell patients like just keep one in the car and one at the front door and like one in like every section so you never are without your hat. People's hair is thinning a lot. And so, top of men's heads, top of women's heads, women get hair thinning too. And
Hmm.
this is something we treat a lot in dermatology is that like the hair, the part in women starts to thin. And so, top of your head is getting a lot more sun, right? Hair is our natural sun protection. And
Right.
so, I'm like crazy about like, please wear a hat whenever you leave the house.
Okay.
And wide brim preferable. If you're only going to wear baseball, then you have to be careful with your ears and the sides of your neck and all that.
Gotcha. Okay. What do you think we do not think about that we need to be concerned with when it comes to our skin? And to the audience, if you're watching me, I'm looking at my notes because I want to read every bit and not try to memorize all this because it's just too good. Our skin is our largest organ and tells us, as you said before, the most about ourselves and our health. So I feel like ignoring it is not an option. Is it like drinking more water?
I wish drinking more water actually hydrated your skin. I mean, drinking water is really good for you. It's like great for your kidneys,
Mhm.
and like internal organs. It doesn't really hydrate your skin. People always say, "Oh, but I've been drinking water," and okay. I mean, like it's not going to help.
Right.
Drinking water is great though. I mean, it's good for your health. I'm not like poo-pooing drinking water. It's just
Of
not going to help.
course.
You can't hydrate your skin by drinking more water.
Okay. That was the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. What can we, is there, other than what you were talking about, or really it's just those things?
It's
It's
those things.
those
I mean,
things.
it
Hmm.
can be pretty simple. Like it
Yeah.
can be. And yes, have I adapted my life to making it that I have a lot of sun protection like built around me? Yes. Do I constantly wear like high neck clothes? I got rid of like every V-neck when you and I went in our 20s. Remember the
Right.
deep V trend?
Yeah, they never looked
Yeah.
good on me, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
did. I
deep
actually
V,
just cleaned some DV necks out because
they
they're just
killed
not.
all our chests. All
Yeah.
our chests got so much sun damage. So I did. I mean, again, not everyone's going to do this, but like
Right.
I actually had a really sweet, also pre-med student who went to medical school. I'm so excited for her. Make me a little painting because I
Hmm.
once told a patient bikinis are for nighttime, like otherwise wear like a long sleeve bathing suit. And she made me like a painting that said that.
I love that.
Because it says like bikinis are nighttime clothes. Because yeah, that's when go wear your V-neck at night when the sun, is gone. Then you
You
don't have to
can't
worry
get a
about the
moon
sun
burn.
damage.
Remember Nicole Kidman and just oh god, it's the moon. Just go with it. She talks about the moon burn, and she's like, "Oh,
No,
I'm getting." Yeah, she makes
a
this comment,
moon.
and
Oh
Jennifer Aniston's character is like, "Is that a thing?"
no.
So no, obviously not. There is no full moon burn, so you can wear your V-necks and
No,
your yeah
wear your bikinis, wear your V-necks, or whatever you want
during a
at
full
night.
moon
No, just
party. Have
kidding.
fun. I love it. Okay, let's talk about trends that are shaping the future of skincare. I want to know from you which one are fads, which ones are worth it, which ones need to leave as quickly or quicker than they arrived. I want you to please rate the following on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best and 1 being the worst.
Okay.
To watch the rest of this podcast, see part 2 of A Dermatologist's Guide to Skincare. Subscribe to DaniGolden.com and get the newsletter. Be the first to know when new content is released.